Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and it's May the 18th, and we're ready for Lesson 138 in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students. Heaven is the decision I must make. Before we look at that, let's talk a lot. There's a lot I want to talk about on yesterday's lesson, 137. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And rather than me talking a lot, I just want to read some of the areas and try to get a sense as I'm reading these excerpts, this concept that when you're healed, everyone's healed with you, because it's a state of mind change, and that's what's important. So we have to start seeing that we're one with everyone, and that our healing requires everyone's healing and anyone's healing. We start being a safe refuge for healing thoughts, which are seeing the world in a whole state the way God sees it. Or maybe I shouldn't say the world, but the Son of God in a healed whole state. And all of his effects, which, at the separated self, makes a world that is a world of separation. So anyway, keep that in mind and ask, try to get a sense of when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. First paragraph, today's idea remains the central thought on which salvation rests. Okay, this is a really core idea. If it's a central thought on which salvation rests, we got to really understand it. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. We want to start thinking of ourselves as not independent from nature and other people, but part of what is. For healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas, which dwell on sickness and on separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a shutting off of joining. It becomes a door that closes on a separate self and keeps it isolated and alone. Sickness is isolation. It gives the body final power to make the separation real and keep the mind in solitary prison. Okay? In paragraph 3, he says, it is impossible that anyone be healed alone. But healing is his own decision to be one again and to accept his self with all its parts intact and unassailed. Healing is accomplished as he sees the body has no power to attack the universal oneness of God's Son. All right, so it is impossible that anyone be healed alone. Let that settle in. How does it say that last sentence? Healing is accomplished as he sees the body. The body has no power to attack the universal oneness of God's Son, of you and me and us, everyone, God's creation. All right, so we're trying to take our attention away from the idea that we're a body. I'm not a body. I'm free. I am as God created me. That'll be a lesson coming up too. Okay? To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth and always will remain exactly as it has forever been. Journey without distance, remember? He said again. To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth and always will remain exactly as it has forever been. Yet eyes accustomed to illusions must be shown that what they look upon is false. So healing never needed by the truth must demonstrate that sickness is not real. Healing might thus be called a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins that never were accomplished, healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. Remember how we talked about time must be the illusion because God only creates perfection? And if you think time has to elapse for you to become healed or sick or healthy or whole or something has to happen, then it's time that has to be ruled out as the unreal. I know that from the world's way of thinking, that's insanity from the world's state of thinking. But according to the Course, it's there's another law operating that the world doesn't understand. Okay, think not healing as unworthy of your function here. For Antichrist becomes more powerful than Christ to those who dream the world is real. The body seems to be more solid and more stable than the mind. And love becomes a dream while fear remains the only reality, the only one reality that can be seen and justified and fully understood. Okay? That's the, okay. Just as forgiveness shines away all sins and the real world will occupy the place of what you made, so healing must replace the fantasies of sickness. Okay? Let's see how much we're doing. When sickness has been seen to disappear in spite of all the laws that hold it cannot but be real, then questions have been answered, and the laws can be no longer cherished nor obeyed. In other words, when we start to see the law that is over the laws that function in the world, that we think that this world is based on, and we realize there's a higher law, now we become miracle-minded. We don't cherish those all. Now healing is freedom, healing is shared, healing is strength, healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of all the world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means by which the Holy Spirit urges you to follow Him. His gentle lessons teach how easily salvation can be yours, how little practice you need undertake to let His laws replace the ones you made and hold yourself a prisoner to death. His life becomes your own as you extend the little help He asks in freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain. And as you let yourself be healed, you see all those around you and who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. All right? We're all healed alone together. What's it say? When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. You are never healed alone, he says. What is opposed to God does not exist. Okay, if you think, so he's trying to get us to see that it's the opposition to God which is out of the realm of reality. Ask the inevitable to occur, and you will never fail. The other choice is but to ask what cannot be to be. And this cannot succeed. Today we ask that only truth will occupy our minds. As the hour strikes, did you do this yesterday? As the hour striked, let your mind be healed as we carry the healing to the world, exchanging curse for blessing, pain for joy, separation for the peace of God. Did you take 1 minute as the hour strikes? And is not a minute of the hour worth the giving to receive a gift like this? Is not a little time a small expense to offer for the gift of everything? You're basically saying the only thing we really want that gives us everything is this one choice between the real and the unreal, between what is and what appears to be real. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would share my healing with the world, that sickness may be banished from the mind of God's one Son, who is my only self. And let's see, now we come together to make well all that was sick and offer blessing where there was attack. As we say, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. Did you say that every hour yesterday? Take a moment to pause for a minute and say that. Well, I hope you did the best you can. We're going to build on that idea in our next lesson. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. Before we get into that, I brought in this. This is a Ouachita blackberry. It was in one of those little, wrappers, and it was already blooming. It's got a couple of blackberries on it. It's a thornless, and it's got a plant patent. So, but I put it in some dirt. I wasn't sure where I wanted to plant it, and I wanted to get it in some more dirt. You could see it wasn't doing real good, but it's healthy and happy. Anyway, Ouachita blackberry, thornless, got a plant patent, so don't grow it and sell it without sharing the money with whoever has the patent, or give them away to your friends. And anyway, we're all part of the same family. All one brotherhood. We need to start acting like it and start helping each other. There's another type of behavior other than commerce that should connect us all. Our recognition that we're all from one Father. We're all brothers and sisters worldwide. That's why I like the picture of the Earth from outer space. It kind of goes beyond all the political boundaries, and we see ourselves as one planet, one people. And probably one, and I shouldn't say probably, I'm convinced, we're one with everybody in the universe, and there's a whole bunch of us. We're just one planet. Heaven is the decision I must make. Okay, like I said, we had a lot of time spent there, so let's just read through our lesson today, and I might say a few words about it. But in this world, heaven is the decision I must make. In this world, heaven is a choice, because here we believe there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite, and what we want, we choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell as well. For contradiction is the way we make what we perceive and what we think is real. Creation knows no opposite, but here is opposition part of being, in quotes, real. It's not real, but it appears to be, okay? 2. It is this strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. It is not really thus. Yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here unless it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear. Keep that in mind. For this would be the error truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and it cannot come. And we want to eliminate fear, lessen it every chance you get. Paragraph 3. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste, and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There's no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing learned. 4. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make. Wow, we're reducing this down to easy peasy. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make. And even this but seems to be a choice. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one. And when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all. For truth is true, and nothing else is real. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. You're just choosing what is. All right? Paragraph 5. So your choice is between truth and illusion, between what's real and unreal. Don't let that ever get too far away, because that's always the choice you make in every decision. 5. Choosing depends on learning, but the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Okay, let's read that again. Knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Because you don't learn knowledge, you only recognize it. He's trying to get us to the place where we can recognize it, though, and then knowledge will come of its own. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are, and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth, and what you are, and what your needs must be. 6. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice, rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive, and prototype of all the rest. The one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it. For all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and the only choice in which is truth accepted or denied. Heaven is the decision I must make. 7. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Okay, so yeah, we made up time, but now time we can use it to make another choice. Such is its holy purpose. Okay, so time has a holy purpose. Everything you make in an error can have a holy purpose too, when you change your mind about your direction, where you're headed. Such is its holy purpose, time, now transformed from the intent you gave it, that it be a means for demonstrating hell is real, hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die. Let me read that sentence again. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die. And thus salvation must be seen as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. These mad beliefs, okay, those are mad beliefs, but we've all held them. Maybe at a subconscious level, maybe you didn't realize you were holding them. This is why that's why I can't emphasize enough the importance of allowing yourself to take these quiet times that he recommends, which today is only going to require 2 5 minutes, one in the morning, one in the evening. And then every hour he wants us to remind ourselves, heaven is a decision I must make. Take a minute, take less. He says take a moment. You could take 5 every hour, but he's not requiring that. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe, and magically armored against truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and from reason and from doubt. Okay, these mad beliefs are only strong because they're unconscious, and we're living by them in every choice we make, and we don't even realize they're pushing us because we've chosen to forget that we decided these things. And then they build on each other. And before long, we got this whole mad world of illusion, built on illusions. And we think we have to protect ourselves, when really there was just one decision we needed to make. Heaven is the decision I must make. Heaven is chosen consciously. Okay, we got to do that one consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. And all mistakes in judgment which the mind had made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized. 10. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell, when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable, the other as a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? 11. We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. We recognize we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo being brought to what is real is flimsy and transparent in the light. It holds no terror now, for what was made enormous, vengeful, pitiless with hate, demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Something that we can chuckle at. Something we can say, wow, I believed that. That's why it's so important to spend this time quietly. I can't emphasize that enough. To spend your quiet times. All right? Before we close our eyes and sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief quiet time, devoted to maintaining sanity. All right, that last 5 minutes of the day. I wouldn't normally say this. I think you should sit up to do these lessons. But maybe you could stay awake for 5 minutes as you're laying down. And just let that be the last 5 minutes of your day before you fall asleep. Of saying this to yourself. And it says, and finally close the day with this, acknowledging we choose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. Heaven is the decision I must make.